Europe, 1933. In the aftermath of the First World War, the continent was fractured, economically, politically, and morally. Across Europe, governments debated what they called the Jewish question. At first, it was not a question of extermination, but of exclusion: who belonged, who did not, and where those deemed undesirable were expected to go. These debates would shape one of the greatest moral failures of the 20th century. In July 1938, representatives from 32 nations met in the French resort town of Evian-les-Bains. Their task was simple in theory: to address the growing refugee crisis created by Nazi Germany's persecution of Jews. Speaker after speaker expressed sympathy. Yet, nearly every delegation refused to alter its immigration laws. Economic concerns, political pressure, and domestic anti-Semitism prevailed. With few exceptions, the world's doors remained closed. The conference ended without binding commitments, a failure noted not only by Jewish observers, but by Nazi leadership itself. Following Evian, Nazi policies still emphasized forced emigration. Jewish property was confiscated, livelihoods destroyed, and exit made increasingly impossible. Plans such as the Madagascar proposal envisioned mass deportation rather than mass murder. But war transformed policy. By 1941, borders were sealed, transport routes disrupted, and millions of Jews were trapped under German control. The problem, as Nazi bureaucrats now defined it, was no longer where Jews would go, but what would be done with them. On January 20th, 1942, 15 senior officials met at a villa in Wannsee, near Berlin. The meeting was chaired by Reinhard Heydrich of the SS. The Wannsee Conference did not debate whether Jews would be killed. That decision had already been made. Instead, Wannsee addressed coordination: which ministries would participate, how deportations would be organized, and how populations would be categorized. The language was administrative, detached, and chillingly precise. Murder was rendered as policy. Across occupied Europe, the final solution unfolded in stages. Mobile killing units, known as Einsatzgruppen, followed the German army east, conducting mass shootings. Purpose-built extermination camps soon followed. Railways, timetables, and industrial methods were employed to carry out genocide on a continental scale. This was not chaos, it was organization, enabled by bureaucracies, industry, and silence. After the war, the Allied powers established the International Military Tribunal at Nuremberg. For the first time, state leaders were prosecuted for crimes against humanity. The trials set legal precedents that still define international law. Yet, Nuremberg was necessarily limited. Only a fraction of perpetrators were tried. Entire systems, bureaucratic, industrial, and political, remained largely intact. Justice was delivered, but it was incomplete. As Cold War tensions emerged, moral clarity yielded to strategic urgency. Both the United States and the Soviet Union recruited former Nazi scientists, intelligence officers, and engineers. Operation Paperclip brought German rocket scientists into American service. Soviet programs did the same. Expertise, once used for war and genocide, was repurposed for deterrence and dominance. Accountability gave way to utility. The Holocaust was the product of deliberate policy, but it was enabled by indifference, exclusion, and failure beyond Germany's borders. History becomes dangerous when simplified. Memory becomes dangerous when weaponized. Understanding does not diminish responsibility, it deepens it. The question is no longer what happened. It is whether we are willing to confront how it was allowed to happen.